thank you to give me the occasion to give you a debrief on this informal summit, which again, unfortunately, took place on the backdrop of atrocities which took place in Ukraine. Again, we see that civilians are being targeted. Again, we see that when civilians are trying to escape from violence, war crimes are being committed. And again, this summit condemns the violence and demands that the violence would stop as soon as possible. This summit, a very timely summit, again, I think the European partners showed unity, showed the capacity to take decisions with impacts on the short term, and also some strategic choices, because this is a decisive moment in Europe. This is a moment where a lot of the certainties which we had have become uncertainties, and where a lot of the strategic choices are being reevaluated in a fundamental way. First topic was on enlargement. Big question, of course, on the enlargement process and the question of Ukraine, amongst others, to have the candidacy status. The European Commission will do its work the way they do it for all applications. What is important is that the enlargement process is not the answer to the problem. The enlargement process is an administrative process. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of reforms. That's normal. If you want to become part of the European Union, there is a lot to be done to make sure that you can be fully integrated. But related to, for example, Ukraine, it's not an administrative question, this is a political question. And so the political answer is that we have asked the Commission to come up with a process of intensified working together. Intensified working together, which in the case of Ukraine, hopefully would be the fact that when peace is there, we will be a major partner in reconstructing the country and making a list of topics which are relevant to the population. For example, related to education, for example, related to technology, to telecommunication. And so, besides the process of becoming a member, which takes time, there is another track which is a more political track, and which is a way more direct track to answer the questions that we see from a lot of countries that see Europe as a beacon of safety, of democracy, and of freedom, and to answer to those demands. This was the first topic. Second topic, obviously, was energy. We see that especially the gas wholesale markets have become completely irrational. We see price spikes which cannot be explained by scarcity. There is today no scarcity. And even if there would be a fear for scarcity, actually it's not there. If tomorrow Russia would just close the supply, we know that there is enough backup to make sure that all demand can be compensated. So if you see that those markets have become completely irrational, and those markets are influencing the price of gas, for example, for residential use, price of gas for industrial use as well, of course, but also influencing the electricity pricing and the fuels pricing, then you need to intervene. And actually intervening in a market that has become completely irrational, this is something that we do on other occasions as well. If we're in a deep financial crisis and stock markets are crashing, very often we will stop the stock market. Stop it for a few days and then restart. So there is a lot of countries that are seeing and understanding that an intervention is necessary to get back to a more normal pricing mechanism. It has been asked to the European Commission by the next Council, so in 2 weeks, to come with a proposal and with pros and cons of what type of mechanism or interventions you could do in the wholesale markets to make sure that the prices become more rational. Besides intervention in the wholesale markets, there's of course other things you can do. Major element is diversifying in the sourcing of gas, and also in diversifying the technologies we are using, and for example accelerating the investments in renewable. Third topic is the decoupling of the electricity markets and the gas markets, where we feel that there is a lot of consensus to work on. Last element is taxing the windfall profits. We see that some of the energy operators have gigantic profits these days. I think it's quite normal that you intervene in that. Third topic we talked about is the European financing. What we have agreed there is that in the next weeks there will be a mapping of the needs. First on defense investments, where the question is what is necessary to make sure that our defense can be more operational, especially in times where the requests for being operational have changed as compared to, let's say, 6 months ago. The question there is what are the gaps? Same exercise is being done in energy transition. What are the investment gaps that we see? And then put all that together and do a sizing of what the investment needs are. The question then is, do we do those investments through a mutualized way of finding capital, or do we do it just country by country? We see that financing is available. What is the best way of doing it is something that will be evaluated based on the gaps that we have. So overall, happy with the way this summit went. In difficult circumstances, very often emotional discussions based on the fact that we discuss, but at the same time millions of people are fearing for their lives and understanding that the European continent has changed and that we at Europe has to change as well. But to the flip side of that, we see an enormous amount of unity and an enormous amount of eagerness to show the capabilities of Europe in protecting what we stand for and protecting our population.